Minuro's been making indoor trainers for bicycles since the 1980s. So they've been doing it for 20 plus years and are pretty well experts at this. Now when they started, it was a very new market and there was lots of bad technology around. And they tried it all but decided on something different. Now what was around at the time was fins for resistance. So your little fans on the back wheel that were turning around, but you get lots of wind issues there and interference. There was also pressure of a roller on the actual tire. So picture a roller pressing on the tire really hard, causing resistance, which means there's lots of fluctuations there of resistance caused by tires, by how tight do you do it up, how hard is your tire, what rubber compound. So all these things are really inconsistent. So Minuro did a lot of investigation in this, and what they came up with was a user system called eddy current system. Now with magnetism we have always pluses and minuses. So basically your forces go up and down all the time. Now this is a very reliable force the way they're using here. It's a very much a plus and minus type resistance. And it's the same system they use for really big things like trains to slow them down. So as a brake system it's extremely reliable, it's very consistent. So it's proven itself and they use it on indoor trainers. So on the base models you get the same technology here. It is the magnetic resistance and the eddy current system, adjustable either by dial or by remote. So that's where you start from. When you move on then, because new craze came in, fluid. Now fluid is like, yeah, that's kind of cool because it cools down magnetism. There's lots of heat going on, there's lots of resistance. So you want to cool it down. Now at the moment there's all kind of holes there to let heat escape. Let's put fluid around it. Makes good sense. But fluid to a degree has got a similar scenario as fans for wind. It has to flow through all the time. And as things warm up and the fluid warms up especially, the consistency of the fluid changes. So your resistance fluctuates up and down as well. Also the problem is that you can't go beyond a certain point, because beyond a certain point it gets too hot, the fluid, and you basically start boiling the fluid, resistance gone. So what Minuro did is they put together a resistance unit from fluid with magnetic. So the two combined means that you actually get a very reliable and very well cooled unit. You see, compared to other fluids around, there's an incredible amount of fins around there, keeping it very cool, and they don't have the max resistance in the unit for fluid, because the help comes from the magnetic unit. Hence the reason you get a very reliable but very high resistance unit, but it will keep working every time the same. Right, so now do you think, what's next? Well, the next thing that happened was soft rollers. Now Minuro never did that one. There was good reasons for it. Soft rollers as such cause issues. It's the same as having a tire which is soft. It will warm up, it gives tire wear. Also you get a non-consistent feeling. If you put a resistance on, it's conforming all the time. It's not a good thing. So to get a good contact between tire and roller, you need a firm roller. Simple as that. So next step was how we go beyond eddy current. Well, what we got there was a thing called advanced magnetic, AMT. And that's what you see here. Now you see exposed flywheels. Now that's something that hasn't been seen since the 80s probably. You think, well, why do we go back there? It does actually make a lot of sense, because exposed flywheels means that the heat from the system can go immediately outwards. There's no casing around it. It's just free to go. It gets hot, but the heat goes away, so you keep a very cool system there. That's a lot smaller than what we had too, because part of the system has actually gone inside this. Now these ones are the V series we got here. They've actually got flywheels that are not flat, heavy flywheels. They're tapered. Now you might think, why do we actually need flywheels? Well, flywheels have a very good reason for being there. Every trainer must have a flywheel to a degree. If you don't have a flywheel, you get a very notchy feeling, because the plus and minuses from the resistance gives you that real notchy feeling, and it doesn't spin through, so it's like the brakes are on all the time. So to make it run smoother, you use a flywheel. Now a small flywheel does quite a reasonable job. If you say put a really big flywheel on here, besides the inconvenience of carrying around, so for example, a 5 kilo flywheel, it's also when you start pedaling, it's a very heavy weight to get moving. And when you start slowing down, that same weight still wants to keep going and wears your tyre nicely. So both things are not really great. So for that reason, as a standard flywheels, they were basically limited to about 1200 grams. Above that, really you start getting quite major issues with your tyres. Now, This flywheel here, that's actually a V130, which means it's virtual 1.3 kilos of flywheel, which is above that. How I've achieved it is by actually stepping the flywheel differently. You can't see it unfortunately, it's internally. There's all little steps in there, so most of the weight's on the outside of the flywheel, so it behaves like a 1300 gram flywheel, but it isn't. Now there's 7 steps on the inside, they're smoother again. With also the slightly different magnetism working there, the noise level has come down. So as far as a magnetic resistance goes, this is the quietest you will get this technology. Because there's more inside, it works slightly differently, there's less plus and minus difference, but you actually get a slightly higher resistance. So, definite improvement. You might also wonder, go back to this again. Yes, quick release, nice and easy. Also, every trainer comes with a skewer included. Why would that be? Well, lots of skewers are in different shapes and sizes. They don't always fit. If you put them straight in here, you'll get some movement there. So when you're working hard on this is going to move up and down and slipping inside the cups. By using the skewer that Minura supplies, you're going to get a perfect fit from the skewer inside the housing. So in this case, quick release, all you're going to do is bang, and even if you wouldn't do it up very tight, it's actually very soft, because the quick release matches the holders. As the next model up from the V1.3, we'll go to the 1.5. A bit more heavyweight in the flywheel department, but same construction. Also, what you can do with these ones, there actually you can buy a computer to go with that you can stick on your bicycle, and that will allow you to do a training program together with this trainer here, which is not possible with the 1.3. Right, so we've hit the 1.3 and the 1.5, now we're on to the 2.7, not just 1.7, 2.7. Now when you look at the sizing difference of the flywheel, you can see where the extra weight's coming from. Very much on the outside, very broad. It still has the same 7 steps of resistance, so the same power there with your flywheel, so a very smooth motion. Different construction too, and because of the smaller tubes here, it also actually has lowered the noise level again. So this is actually the quietest trainer Minura makes, it's quieter than anything else out there. Also when you look at the arrangement of the legs, it's far more futuristic, you can say. It's a little bit lighter weight. And you know you have the quick release on top here, we now also have a quick release on the roller. If you press this down, it brings the roller to the wheel. So up, it goes away again, you press it down, and press it on. So that's how you lock the roller every time very quickly onto the actual tyre. Now I keep on talking about noise. So with the noise, of course, it's become so quiet now that most of it left now is the noise between the tyre and the roller. Now we can do something about it, because Minura has also developed a special tyre that actually is more quiet. So rather than just saying, okay, we've done as much as we can here, that's it, and we can change the tyre. This tyre here, it runs a lot softer. It's not the feel softer, doesn't last shorter. No, it runs quieter, it has less interference with the roller, especially made to roll on a hard aluminium roller. On the road also, you can ride this one on and off the road. It's not a pure train specific tyre. You can use it here, you can take the bike off, go for a road ride. You get a very grippy tyre. It's very slightly heavier than a racing tyre. The great thing is that for a tyre itself, you will get about 6,000 k's out of this. So you'll last time and a half to 2 times as long as a normal one. So yes, it costs a little bit, but you're going to get value for money on it. Besides the fact that your neighbours will be really happy with you. Now what's for the future? Well, the future just released is this one here, called the Magtex. When you look at the actual unit itself, it looks quite similar from a flywheel point of view. And this output-wise is around about the 450 watts. Very good for most people, great. But the pro rider, or the guy that really wants to train hard, wants a little bit more. Now what I've done is built a new system next to it. The new system basically incorporates 2 different magnet systems that both work together to get more resistance. Number 1 to 8 is about the same as the maximum as what you get on the 2.7. This one actually has 13 positions, and all the onward positions is all more power. So you really get a lot more resistance for this. So for real pro training, you need the Magtex trainer. This is unbelievable, the power you can do on this one. The lever's changed too, because they had to accommodate to have more cable. It's a nice round one, and very easy to maneuver. Right, so now you think, what's this all about? Well, when you have your normal trainer, you put it on your back wheel. When you want to do some sprint training on the road, you actually will stand up and go, Well, probably not the most stable. They are very stable, but for pure sprinting you probably want a little bit more. This trainer basically has an extended frame, so not only the back wheel with the wide legs, you also have on the front the fork support. So you take your front wheel out, you put your front fork in here, that gives you a lot more stiffness on the front itself. So by the time you stand up, you'll find there's a lot more sturdiness there, and you will have the real feeling of stability. It's a very safe feeling, even when you get out of the saddle. So great for a bit of sprint training on your bicycle. Right, so now we've been talking a lot about indoor trainers, but mainly for road bikes. And so we're talking tyres for road bikes. They're nice and smooth, so they run nicely on an aluminium roller. But if you have a BMX bike or a mountain bike, you can do two things. You can either change the tyre to a slick style tyre, or you buy one that actually doesn't run on the tyre but on the rim itself. So this model here runs on the rim. It's especially made for BMXers for start of the race. A BMX race on average lasts 40 seconds. How do you warm up? Well, the perfect way to warm up. Downhill racing, probably a 2-minute race. How do you warm up? Rim trainers is the one, because you don't want to change your tyre just before a race. You don't touch your bike. So for anything that wants to keep an original tyre on there, you use one that runs on the rim itself, and quite a few disc-only rims will actually accept that same roller as well. So how do we use a trainer like this, the rim trainer? Well, it's quite easy. You fit the bicycle as normal to the central axle fitting. At that point, you see the handles are pointing outwards. All we do is gently slip them inwards, and the roller hits the rim. Very nicely, very smoothly. To take them off. Now, of course, with different rim sizes on BMXs, you have different, you see there's a slot there where you can slide the units up and down in. This is a 20-inch bike. If you have a 24-inch bike, you slip it all the way down. So this frame here is suited for 20 and 24-inch bicycles. For full-size bicycles, we have a different frame available, different model, that fits the bigger size wheels. But very simple, 1, 2, off you go. Right, so with the future trainer from Minura, what else will it be? Well, the future is of course that these resistance units use electricity, the eddy current system. So with the electricity going on there, at the moment it gets wasted basically by heat exploding away. The future is that energy will be harnessed, and hopefully you can actually benefit your household as well as your fitness.